There's something we all face at some point in life that eats at us more than we'd like to admit. It's when people don't respect us. Maybe it's the coworker who constantly interrupts you. Maybe it's the family member who makes backhanded comments. Or maybe it's that friend who only calls when they need something but never shows up when you do. Whatever the situation, the sting of being disrespected cuts deep because it attacks something personal, our dignity, our worth, our value as a human being. The real question is, what do we do about it? Because ignoring it feels impossible, reacting to it makes things worse, and bottling it up just poisons us from the inside. The first thing we need to understand is that respect is not something we beg for. Respect is not something we convince people to give us. Respect is a standard we hold for ourselves and a boundary we set for others. People are going to treat you the way you allow them to. That might sound harsh, but it's the truth. If someone keeps stepping on you, it's because you've left the door open. If someone talks down to you over and over, it's because you've tolerated it. And tolerating disrespect is like leaving weeds in your garden. You think it's just one weed, no big deal, but give it enough time and suddenly the whole thing is overgrown, choking out the good things you planted. So the way to handle people who don't respect you starts with a decision. I will not allow this treatment to continue. And that doesn't mean you start yelling or fighting or cutting people off on the spot. It means you choose calm strength. It means you put your value above their opinion. Because here's the truth, someone else's disrespect is not really about you. It's about them. People Project, they unload their insecurities, frustrations, and bitterness onto whoever is convenient. And sometimes that's you. But just because they throw it at you doesn't mean you have to carry it. When someone disrespects you, your first job is to remain calm. Why? Because disrespect is often bait. They want a reaction. They want to see you get defensive. They want you to fight them on their level. But the moment you do, you've already lost. You've stepped into their game and you don't win battles on someone else's board. So instead of snapping back or sulking in silence, pause, breathe, let them see that their words or behavior don't control you. That's power. Silence can be louder than shouting. Calm can be stronger than aggression. Now, staying calm doesn't mean staying silent forever. You have to communicate. Respect isn't demanded, but it is commanded through clarity. That means you call out the behavior without escalating it. If someone interrupts you in a meeting, you don't slam the table and yell. You calmly say, I wasn't finished speaking. Let me complete my thought. If someone keeps making jokes at your expense, you don't laugh it off forever. You say, I don't appreciate jokes like that. Stop. If a friend keeps using you but never reciprocates, you don't silently resent them. You say, I feel like I'm always there for you, but when I need support, you're not around. That doesn't work for me. This isn't about being rude. This is about being clear. When you set boundaries, you're not punishing someone. You're teaching them how to treat you. And if they're unwilling to adjust, then you have your answer. They don't value you enough to respect your standards. And that's when you take the next step, distance. See, not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Respect is the price of admission. And when people refuse to pay that price, you show them the door. That doesn't make you cruel. That makes you wise. Because you cannot expect to live a peaceful, fulfilling life while surrounding yourself with people who constantly undermine you. Distance doesn't always mean cutting them off completely. It can mean limiting contact, reducing emotional investment, or simply not giving their opinions weight in your life. But make no mistake, you cannot keep watering relationships that only drain you. And here's the hard part. Sometimes the people who disrespect you are the ones closest to you. Family, friends you've had for years, colleagues you see every single day. And that makes it harder to walk away or even to stand firm. But the principle is the same. Respect is non-negotiable. If someone you love keeps hurting you with their words or actions, you owe it to yourself to protect your peace. Sometimes that means having difficult conversations. Sometimes that means pulling back even when it hurts. Because if you keep tolerating disrespect in the name of keeping the peace, you're not actually keeping peace, you're just keeping quiet. And there's a difference. Handling people who don't respect you isn't just about confrontation and boundaries. It's also about mindset. Because no matter how strong your boundaries are, disrespect will still happen. The question is, how do you interpret it? If you tie your self-worth to the way others treat you, every act of disrespect feels like proof that you're not good enough. But if you root your self-worth in who you are, in your values, in your character, then disrespect becomes background noise. Annoying, yes, but not defining. You start to see it for what it is, a reflection of them, not a reflection of you. Think about it. If someone lies about you, does that make you a liar? No. If someone mocks you, does that make you a joke? No. If someone ignores your achievements, does that erase your hard work? Absolutely not. Their disrespect is not reality, it's their perception. And perception is often clouded by jealousy, ignorance, or bitterness. When you realize this, you stop carrying their weight. You stop giving their opinion the authority it never deserved. Another key part of handling disrespect is consistency. People test boundaries. The first time you stand up for yourself, they might back off, or they might push harder to see if you really mean it. And if you cave, they know they can keep doing it. But if you stand firm every single time, they learn, this person won't bend. And eventually, they either adjust their behavior or remove themselves. Either way, you win. But let's be real, this isn't easy. Setting boundaries, staying calm, and maintaining consistency takes practice. It takes courage. It takes a willingness to be uncomfortable. And most of all, it takes self-respect. You cannot demand from others what you don't practice yourself. If you don't respect your own time, your own voice, your own value, how can you expect others to? Respect starts inward. The way you talk to yourself, the way you treat yourself, the way you honor your own boundaries, all of that sets the tone for how others treat you. So ask yourself, do I respect myself? Do I speak kindly to myself, or do I tear myself down? Do I protect my time and energy, or do I give it away freely to anyone who asks? Do I allow myself rest, or do I burn out trying to please everyone else? Because the more you respect yourself, the more you'll naturally demand it from others, not through aggression, but through presence. People feel it. They sense when someone carries themselves with dignity. They sense when someone won't tolerate being walked on. And often, that alone is enough to change how they approach you. Let's also talk about forgiveness, because it's part of this too. Sometimes people disrespect you out of ignorance, not malice. Maybe they didn't realize how their words landed. Maybe they were caught up in their own stress. In those cases, a calm conversation can go a long way. Don't assume every slight is intentional. Give people the chance to learn and grow. But if the disrespect continues after you've communicated clearly, then you know it's not a mistake. It's a choice. And that's when your choice comes in, to stay or to walk away. And let me say this, walking away is not weakness. Walking away is wisdom, because not every battle is worth fighting. Sometimes the best response to disrespect is to remove yourself entirely, not because you can't fight, but because your energy is too valuable to waste. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to prove your worth to people determined not to see it. You don't have to explain yourself endlessly to someone committed to misunderstanding you. You're allowed to say, this environment is not healthy for me, and leave. That's not losing. That's winning on your terms. The truth is, handling people who don't respect you is less about them and more about you. It's about who you choose to be in the face of their behavior. Do you let them control your emotions? Do you let them define your value? Or do you stand firm, calm, and clear about what you will and will not accept? Because at the end of the day, respect is not something you chase. It's something you embody. And when you embody it, the right people will recognize it, the wrong people will resist it, and you'll finally have the clarity to know who belongs in your life and who doesn't. So the next time someone disrespects you, remember this: you don't need their approval to be valuable. You don't need their validation to be worthy, and you certainly don't need their permission to set boundaries. What you need is the courage to stand firm, the wisdom to stay calm, and the self-respect to walk away when necessary. Because you teach people how to treat you, and the lesson starts with you. And when you live that way, when you carry yourself with quiet strength, when you communicate with clarity, when you protect your peace, you'll notice something powerful. The disrespect will lose its grip. The people who truly value you will rise to the surface, and the people who don't will fade into the background where they belong. And you'll finally be free, not because everyone respects you, but because you respect yourself enough not to need everyone to. That is real strength. That is real freedom. That is how you handle people who don't respect you. One of the most important lessons about dealing with disrespect is understanding that you cannot control other people. You can influence them. You can set boundaries. You can respond wisely. but you cannot control them. And a lot of the frustration we feel in these situations comes from trying to force someone to change who they are. We keep thinking, if I say it differently, if I prove myself, if I try harder, they'll finally see my value. But that's not how it works. You don't get respect by twisting yourself into knots. You get respect by being steady in who you are, whether they see it or not. The reality is some people will never respect you, not because you don't deserve it, but because they can't. They don't have the capacity. They don't have the maturity. They don't have the humility. And sometimes they don't even have the desire. Once you accept that, you stop wasting energy on the impossible. You stop exhausting yourself trying to change people who don't want to change. You start focusing on what you can control, your own actions, your own standards, your own choices. That's where real power lies. You see, power isn't about making people bow to you. Power is about not bowing to anyone's mistreatment of you. It's about walking into a room and knowing you don't have to shrink to fit anyone's comfort, and you don't have to puff up to prove your worth either. You just exist in the fullness of who you are, and that alone demands a certain kind of respect, even from those who don't like you. Now let's talk about patience, because handling disrespect isn't always about immediate action. Sometimes it's about the long game. People reveal who they are over time. They show patterns. And your job isn't to rush into every conflict, but to observe, to watch, to see what's really going on. Because sometimes disrespect isn't loud. Sometimes it's subtle. It's in the little digs, the dismissive tone, the constant lateness, the way they forget the things that matter to you. And if you call it out too quickly without understanding the full picture, you might think you're overreacting. But when you're patient, when you step and notice the pattern, you gain clarity. And with clarity comes confidence to act without guilt. There's also wisdom in choosing your battles. Not every instance of disrespect requires confrontation. If someone cuts you off in traffic, you don't need to chase them down. If a stranger makes a rude comment, you don't need to destroy them with a clever comeback. You save your energy for the places that matter. Because if you fight every single battle, you'll be drained before you even get to the important ones. True strength is selective. It knows when to stand up and when to let go. Another piece of this is dignity. Dignity is that quiet strength that says, I don't need to lower myself to prove a point. When someone insults you, the easy reaction is to insult back. But dignity says, I'm not giving you that power. When someone mocks you, the easy thing is to fire back with mockery. But dignity says, your words don't define me. This doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It means you handle yourself with such composure that even your silence commands attention. Think of it like a storm. Lightning is loud, but it comes and goes. Mountains, on the other hand, don't say a word, yet they dominate the landscape. That's dignity. Handling people who don't respect you also requires perspective. Ask yourself, is this person's opinion really that important to me? Do they have the power to affect my life, my goals, my happiness? Or am I giving them more weight than they deserve? Often, the people who disrespect us are not the people who matter most. Yet we let their words echo louder than the ones who actually love and support us. Why? Because human nature tends to focus on the negative. We could have 10 compliments and 1 insult, and we'll replay the insult over and over in our heads. That's why perspective is so important. Don't let the one who doesn't respect you drown out the ones who do. Another practical way to deal with disrespect is through detachment. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop attaching your emotions to their behavior. If someone is rude, you don't have to absorb it. You observe it, you recognize what it is, and you move on. Imagine someone throwing mud at you. If you catch it, you're dirty. If you let it drop, they're the only one with dirty hands. Detachment is refusing to catch what doesn't belong to you. It's saying, that's your problem, not mine. And when you live with that mindset, disrespect loses its power to ruin your day. Let's also address workplace disrespect, because that's where many people struggle. You can't always walk away from a job. You can't always avoid the boss who dismisses your ideas or the coworker who talks over you. But you can choose how you handle it. Professionalism is your weapon here. You remain calm, you remain clear, and you document. You don't stoop to gossip or passive-aggressive behavior. You address issues directly and respectfully, and if nothing changes, you escalate it to the proper channels. And if even then nothing changes, you make plans to find a healthier environment, because no paycheck is worth constant disrespect. Money can buy comfort, but it can't buy peace of mind. In friendships, the challenge is different. We often hold on to people because of history. We've known each other for years. They've always been around, but history doesn't excuse disrespect. The length of time someone has been in your life doesn't give them the right to mistreat you. If anything, the longer they've been around, the more respect they should show. And if they don't, then you have to ask yourself, am I keeping this ship out of loyalty or out of fear of being alone? Because loyalty without reciprocity is just self-sacrifice. True friends respect you. They don't always agree with you, but they value you. And if someone consistently disrespects you, no amount of history changes that truth. Family can be the hardest. Society teaches us that family is everything, that blood is thicker than water. But respect is not automatic just because someone shares DNA with you. Being related doesn't give someone the right to demean you. And sometimes the people who disrespect you the most are the ones who feel entitled to do so because we're family. That's where boundaries become absolutely essential. You can love your family and still say, I will not tolerate this behavior. You can respect the relationship while refusing to be disrespected within it. And if they refuse to change, you have every right to limit your interaction. Even with family, love doesn't mean accepting abuse. Respect doesn't mean blind tolerance. Let's not forget self-talk in all of this. Because sometimes the most disrespectful person in our lives is ourselves. The way we criticize ourselves, doubt ourselves, compare ourselves, that sets the tone for everything else. If you disrespect yourself, you'll accept it from others. If you constantly put yourself down, you'll feel like their words are just confirmation of what you already believe. But when you start treating yourself with kindness, when you start affirming your worth, you'll notice you don't tolerate the same treatment from others anymore. It feels foreign. It feels wrong because you've set a new standard within yourself. Another way to think about it is this life is like a stage. Not everyone deserves front row seats. Some people belong in the balcony. Some don't belong in the theater at all. And it's your job to decide where people sit. When you allow disrespectful people front row access, they'll distract you from the performance of your life. They'll shout, criticize, and throw you off balance. But when you put them in the balcony, their voice isn't as loud anymore. You still know they're there, but they don't disrupt your show. And when you remove them completely, you free yourself to perform without distraction. This is why it's so important to build a circle of respect. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, challenge you in healthy ways, and remind you of your value when you forget it. When you have a strong circle, the disrespect outside of it doesn't hit as hard. You know where you belong. You know where you're valued. You know where respect is mutual. And that gives you the courage to walk away from the rest. At the end of the day, disrespect is inevitable. You can't avoid it completely, but you can decide how it shapes you. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. You can let it silence you, or you can let it strengthen your voice. You can let it convince you that you're not worthy, or you can use it as proof that you are, because people don't try to tear down what isn't strong. The very fact that someone disrespects you sometimes means they see something in you they can't control, and that threatens them. So instead of taking it as a sign of weakness, maybe take it as confirmation of your strength. The more you grow, the more you'll notice disrespect. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because growth makes people uncomfortable. Your confidence reminds them of their insecurity. Your success highlights their stagnation. Your boundaries expose their lack of self-control. And rather than fix themselves, some people will try to tear you down to their level. Don't let them. Stay the course. Keep growing. Keep setting boundaries. Keep demanding respect through the way you live. Because at the end of the day, respect isn't just about how others treat you. It's about how you teach the world to treat you. And when you master that, when you carry yourself with dignity, clarity, and self-respect, you won't have to fight for respect anymore. It will become the natural byproduct of who you are. Even those who don't like you will have to admit it. Even those who try to ignore you will feel it, because respect at its core isn't given. It's earned by the way you show up, the way you stand tall, and the way you refuse to let anyone shrink your worth. And that is how you handle people who don't respect you. The truth is, disrespect will always exist. You will encounter people who interrupt you, belittle you, dismiss you, or act like your worth is negotiable. But the way you handle those moments determines whether they weaken you or strengthen you. Respect isn't something you beg for, it's something you set as a standard. It begins with the way you treat yourself, because self-respect sets the tone for how others respond to you. When people cross the line, you don't need to explode or shrink back. You stay calm, clear, and consistent. You speak up without aggression. You set boundaries without guilt. You teach people how to treat you. And if they refuse to learn, you distance yourself without apology, because not everyone deserves access to you. Respect is the price of admission, and anyone unwilling to pay it forfeits their place in your life. And while you can't control what others say or do, you can always control how you carry yourself. You can refuse to take on their bitterness. You can choose dignity over drama. You can let their disrespect reveal more about them than it ever could about you. And over time, the right people, the ones who see your value, will rise to the surface while the wrong ones fade into the background where they belong. So don't waste your energy chasing validation from those determined not to see your worth. Stand firm in who you are. Protect your peace. Hold your boundaries. Because true freedom doesn't come from making everyone respect you. It comes from respecting yourself enough not to need everyone to. That is where your strength lies, and that is how you turn disrespect into dignity.